Hello and welcome everyone. This is Harsh Bhardwaj and today we'll be discussing about loops in C++. So let's begin and see what's in it for you. So we are going to be learning today about while loops, what is a loop, then different types of loops like for loop, while loop, do while loop, then there is nested loop. After that, there are control flow statements like break and continue. But before we begin, if you're new here and haven't subscribed already, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for interesting tech videos. So let's start with the first topic, that is while loops. In order to perform a particular task or operation many number of times, we need loops. These are used when we want to execute a block of statement repeatedly rather than just writing those statements again and again. For example, imagine you want to display your name on the screen 50 times. Now to do that, there are two methods. Method 1 is writing your name 50 times by doing the hard code. And method 2 is writing your name once with the loop condition and your name will be automatically displayed 50 times. Now it is pretty obvious that you would prefer the second approach because you don't have to put effort in writing your name 50 times. Plus, it is easy to write code in few lines. So method 2 is the functionality of loop. It reduces time in writing the code, plus it increases the simplicity. Now let's understand what is a loop. Loops in computer programming is a series of tasks that are used to run some particular code repeatedly until a specific condition is met. Loops tells the computer when to start the condition and when to stop it. Now this is a basic flow of a loop. After the initialization, the condition is checked. If it's true, then the block of statement will get executed as long as the condition is true, and if the condition is false, the loop will terminate. Depending on the program, different types of loops are used in different times. So let's first see different types of loops. First is for loop, then while loop, then there is do while loop. After that, there is nested loop. These are four types of loops in C++. So let's discuss these loops. First is for loop. It is a repetition control structure that is used to iterate a piece of code based on the condition is true or false. If the condition is true, the statement inside the loop body is executed, and once if it returns false, the execution of statement will get terminated. And after every execution of for loop, the increment or decrement parts will update the loop counter. Now let's move on to the while loop. In this loop, the condition is evaluated first. If it's true, then the set of instructions inside the loop body will execute, and this will happen repeatedly until the condition becomes false. And when it becomes false, the loop will end. Now the main difference is we use for loops when we know the number of times the body of the loop needs to run, whereas we use while loops when we don't know the accurate number of times the body of loop needs to run. Now moving to the next loop, that is do while loop. This loop is quite similar to the while loop. In this, the loop will execute the set of instructions once before checking if the condition is true. After that, it will repeat the loop as long as the condition is true. That means, in do while, loop body will execute at least once irrespective of the test condition. Now coming to the nested loop. When one loop is defined inside the body of another loop, then it is known as nested loop. In C++, there are at least 256 levels of nesting, and the flow of execution for nested loop is, first it includes initialization of variable, followed by condition 1. If it gets satisfied, then it will search for the second condition. If that also gets satisfied, then it will get increment, and when the condition gets satisfied, it will search for the new set of statements, and follows the same flow of execution. Now coming to the control flow statements. First is break statement. It is basically used to come out of the loop instantly whenever a break statement is encountered inside the loop. The control directly comes out from the loop by terminating it. Basically, break statements are used when we are not sure about the number of iterations or we want the loop to end on some condition. Now we will discuss about continue statement. Continue is also a loop control statement. It is used to skip the current iteration of the loop and control of program goes to the next iteration. In other words, if continue is mentioned inside the loop, it skips the current statement and transfers the control to execute the next iteration of the loop. Now, as we have discussed these topics, let's do some examples to understand them better in our code editor, that is VS Code.
If getting your learning started is half the battle, what if you could do that for free? Visit SkillUp by Simplilearn. Click on the link in the description to know more.
Now, we'll make a new file and we'll name that file as loops.cpp. Okay, loops1.cpp. Now here we will do a program in which we have to print the digits from 0 to 10 using for loops. It will be a basic program just to understand it. We'll write the header file hash include iostream. Now we'll write using namespace standard. Now here is the int main. Now we'll write the for loop with a for keyword. Inside the for loop, we'll initialize I with 0. Now we'll put a condition I less than equal to 10, which means the loop will keep on executing until I is less than 10. Now we'll put increment I++. Now inside the loop brackets, all we have to do is to print I, so that all the digits get printed. So now let me tell you, here what we are doing is, we are just making the loop to run from 0 to 10. As we can see that I have made I 0 to I less than equal to 10. That means loop will move from I 0 to 10. Now let's try to run it. Here we can see all the digits 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here is our answer, and let me tell you one thing more. To put return 0 after the loop, it's a good practice. Now I'll again run it. The output will be the same, but it's a good practice to write return 0 in the end. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So instead of writing the hard code, we can just use the for loop in this case. It's a basic example of for loop, but you can try some more examples in order to understand it better. Now let's do one example of while loop to understand it better. We'll be doing a basic example of while loop in which all we have to do is to print Happy New Year 11 times. Let's start. First of all, let's name this file loops2.cpp. Now let's start with the header file, that is hash include iostream. Now we'll write using namespace standard. Now here's the int main. Now first of all, we'll declare n equals 0. We'll take a variable n and initialize it with 0. Now we'll put the while condition with the while keyword, writing while n not equal to 11. Here what it means is, the loop will keep on executing until n becomes equal to 11. Now here all we have to do is to print Happy New Year so that it will get printed along with the loop 11 times. And then now we'll write n plus plus. We have written n plus plus so that the loop will keep on incrementing every single time. After that, now we'll write return 0 outside the loop. Now we'll try to run this. So here's our output. Happy New Year 11 times. So this is how it's done. This is again a basic example of while loop, but to understand it better, one must practice some more examples on it. Now let's do one example of do while loop also. Let's make a new file. First of all, let's name that file loops3.cpp. I think the name is already taken. Then we'll write loops4.cpp. Okay, now so we'll write the header file first of all. We'll write hash include iostream. After that, using namespace standard, now in this program, all we have to do is we have to print the sum of all the digits from 0 to 9. So let's start. We'll write int main. So now let's first of all declare a counting variable sum and initialize it with 0. Now we will initialize another variable I with 0. Now the syntax of do while loop is do keyword, and now we will add some code inside the body. We'll write sum equals sum plus I. Here what we are doing is we are simply adding sum variable and I variable and storing it to sum variable itself. We are doing this because we want to find the sum. That is why we have to store it in a single variable. Now we will need to increment I, or else loop is going to run forever. Now we will write while I less than 10. We have written I less than 10 because we want to find the sum from 0 to 9. And make sure to put a semicolon in the end in case of do while loop. Now we will print sum in this while loop. We'll write sum is sum variable. Now this loop will keep on executing till I is less than 10. Now in the do while loop, sum is calculated by repeated addition and increment. In each repetition, it is checked whether the number I is smaller or equal to the inputted number. If it is smaller, then the loop continues, but exits the loop if it isn't. After the control exits from the loop, sum is printed. Now let's try to run this code. Here it is. Sum is 45, which is the right answer. This is our output. So this is how it is done in do while loop. So now let's do one example of our last loop, that is nested loop. First of all, we'll name the file loops5.cpp. Now we'll start with the header files. Now using namespace standard, now in this program all we have to do is to print a star pattern of half pyramid form using nested loop. So let's try. We'll write int main. Now let's initialize two variables, that is I and j. Now let's say we want to make a half pyramid of 10 rows. Then it means we need to run a loop which runs for 10 times. So let's write for initialize it with 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. Now here we have written I less than 10. Instead of this, we'll write I less than equal to 10 because we want the 10th row to be printed also. Now we'll print /n in order to insert a new line. Now we'll write another for loop which will decide number of stars in a particular row. So we'll write j equal to 1 because this for loop is for the column section. Then j less than equal to I, which is a row. Then j plus plus. Now we'll print star. Now one more thing, instead of 0 we'll write I equals to 1 because we want to print stars from 1 to 10. So now let's discuss its working. Initially we have I equals to 1, that is the outer loop value. Now for this value a complete run of jth loop is happening, that is j equal to 1 validated by j less than equal to I. Now this condition is used because the pattern which we are gonna build is having increment of star as the number of rows increments. So for I equals to 1, j equals to 1 is executed. Then j plus plus is done, which increments the value of j to 2. Now j equals to 2 failed to execute as 2 is less than equal to 1 is false. Therefore, only one star is printed. Again, we go to ith loop. Now for I equal to 2, we'll check every value of j which can be executed, that is 1 and 2. Since only two values can be true, therefore 2 stars are printed. Similarly, we check for I equal to 3, 4, 5 and so on till 9, as we have the condition I is less than 10. So now we'll try to run this and check whether the pattern is printing or not. Here it is, half pyramid form using stars with the help of nested loops. So this is our star pattern. We can make some more different types of patterns using nested loops, but we have done only one example in order to understand the concept. So now let's move to our control flow statements and let's do some examples of them. Okay, now make a new file and let's name this file as control1.cpp. Now we'll write the header file and the namespace standard as we have done previously. So let's do it. Hash include iostream using namespace std. Now here we will write a program in which we have to print the numbers from 100 to 200, like 110, 120, 130 with a gap of 10. But after 150, we will terminate the ongoing loop. Now, how can it be done? With the help of break statement. So let's start. First of all, we'll write int main. Now we'll take a variable num and initialize it with 100. Now we'll write a while condition and we'll write num is less than equal to 200 because we want the loop to run from 100 to 200. Num less than equal to 200. Now we'll simply display those numbers. Now we'll write an if condition that if num equals 150, then we'll terminate the loop. And for that we have to write the break statement inside the if statement. So let's write if num equals 150, then we have to break the loop. Write the break statement. Now after that we'll increment this by 10. We're incrementing this by 10 because we want the numbers to be printed like 100, 110, 120 like this. That is why we are incrementing it with 10 and not with 1. Now we'll write out of the loop just to be informed that we are finally out of the loop. Return 0. Now we'll try to run this. Here we can see, here we can see 100, 110, 120 up to 150. After that we are out of the loop. This means the code works fine. So this is the example of a break statement. Now after this we'll do another example of continue. So let's start. Let's make a new file and name it control2.cpp. Now we'll write the header files. Using namespace standard. Now in this program all we have to do is to print the numbers from 100 to 90, only excluding 96 from them. Now how do we do it? With the help of continue statement. So let's start. First of all we'll write int main. Now we'll declare a variable num and initialize it with 100. Now we'll write a while condition, while loop, in which we write the condition num greater than equal to 90 because we want the loop to run till it is equal to 90. That is why we have wrote greater than equal to 90. Basically we want the loop to run from 100 till it becomes equal to 90. Now inside the loop we'll write the if condition in order to skip 96. So we'll write if num equals 96, num equals 96. Now we'll use a decrement operator because our starting point is 100, our ending point is 90. That is why we have to use the decrement operator. Now continue statement. After that, we'll write value is, and we'll write the variable num. Now we'll write num minus minus. Here we are writing minus minus because we want it to get decrement after printing also. That is why we have written num minus minus after printing num. Now let's try to run this also. Hope it works. Okay, I think there are some errors. So some brackets were missing. And we'll write return 0. Now we'll try to run it. Here it is. As we can see, 100, 99, 98, 97, but 96 is missing. So this is all we have to do in this program. And this is the basic example of continue statement. In order to understand these examples better, you must try more examples on each of these loops and control flow statements so that it will be easier for you all. Alright, with that we have come to the end of this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I hope it really helped you all. Thanks for watching, stay safe and keep learning.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.